Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. Today is the 15th of March 2022. These are the stories that we will be discussing during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, first of all with our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab, who has briefed the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres not only by phone, by giving him details about, of course, this missile incident that happened, the missile that landed in Pakistan, but also through a letter that was jointly addressed to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, as well as the Ambassador Lana Zaki Nusseibeh of the United Arab Emirates, in which the Foreign Minister details Pakistan's account of how this missile landed, and of course the apprehensions that Pakistan has as far as this launch and this missile landing in Pakistan is concerned. This is going to be our first segment, but of course there have been the statements emanating from the US as well, who have quoted the Indian Defence Minister and have said that they feel, as per the statement of the Indian Defence Minister, that it is it is an accident and nothing more than that, and they have nothing more to say about it. At the same time, the United States and China both urge Pakistan and India to sit down together for talks. That has been emphasized by the United Nations, the United States rather spokesperson, as well as the Chinese spokesperson very recently, in fact on Monday and Tuesday. This is going to be our first segment, ladies and gentlemen. Our second story of the day concerns the future of the relationship between Pakistan and the United States of America. We've seen ups, we've seen downs, we've seen apprehensions, a lot of questions. Now that Masood Khan Saab, who's a veteran, of course, a diplomat and has been at key posts in New York in the past as well, and understands what diplomacy is all about, is going to go as the ambassador designate of Pakistan to the United States of America. This raises a lot of hope and positivity about the future of the relationship between these two countries. We're going to discuss that in our second segment. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, pertains to WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. He's been denied permission, ladies and gentlemen, to appeal at Britain's Supreme Court against a decision to extradite him to the United States. There was a decision that is pending to extradite him, and of course we all know who Julian Assange is, what WikiLeaks are, and thousands and thousands of pages of leaks that came out that incriminated a lot of political personalities from across the globe. This is going to be our third story. Our last story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the International Day to Combat Islamophobia that is being observed today, as well as in other Islamic countries. What is Islamophobia? How important has Pakistan's efforts been to combat Islamophobia? And of course, our Prime Minister, our Foreign Minister have been talking about it on different fora. The OIC has also been a very important platform to highlight it, and in the upcoming OIC moot also, this is going to be one of the items on the agenda. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab, who has not only called Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, but also has written a letter to him detailing Pakistan's account of what happened as far as the incursion of the unarmed missile into Pakistani territories is concerned. More in the following report.
The peace of South Asia has long been held hostage owing to Indian hegemonic designs which dangerously imperil regional peace. India's callousness and inaptitude in a nuclear environment shocked the world as a high-speed flying object originating from India had crashed near the eastern city of Mia Channu in Pakistan, endangering passenger flights and civilian lives. The unpleasant consequences of such negligence were lethal, and Pakistan sought answers from India while urging a joint probe into the missile fiasco that could have triggered an accidental war between the two nuclear-armed neighbors. Pakistan's Foreign Office summoned India's Charge d'Affaires in Islamabad to lodge a protest over an unprovoked violation of its airspace. In response to Indian belligerence and outrageous management of strategic weapons, Pakistan acted in pragmatic manner and approached United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to share Pakistan's reflections on India's disregard for aviation safety as well as regional peace and stability. Since any misunderstanding could have disastrous consequences, Beijing has vindicated Pakistan's stance of launching a thorough investigation into the incident of violation of Pakistani airspace. India's disregard for aviation safety as well as regional peace and stability raises serious questions about multiple shortcomings in the strategic arsenal.
Air Commodore retired Iftikhar Bajwa Saab, who's a senior analyst, joins us online. Bajwa Saab, in fact, in the studios. Bajwa Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Bajwa Saab, when it comes to this incident that happened as far as the unarmed missile that entered Pakistani airspace, and of course we had the DGISPR who gave a detailed briefing on that. We had to wait 2 days before the Indians came out with some kind of a response, and they said it was an accident, quote unquote, and of course this raises a lot of question marks. That is the reason why Pakistan is highlighting this issue on all the important fora, and our foreign minister has written to Antonio Guterres and has also called him. What do you make of this incident, sir?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First thing that such incidents, accidents can take place. So we should be a little clear on this, that such thing can happen. But their reaction or their response after 2 days actually makes things worrisome. When there is a violation of any airspace, then there is anything in the air which is not manned, which is like left loose, that is to be intimated according to International Civil Aviation Authority's laws also to the concerned regions. And there are hotlines, and air traffic control system should have been intimated.
But Pakistan was not told about it at any moment in time.
Pakistan wasn't told any time till the time their official statement that came up. So I think Pakistan's suspicion or Pakistan's worry is actually very pertinent, because the way things happened, these things usually don't happen this way. Because if such a thing happens, it is an infringement to the airspace of Pakistan that is deliberate or otherwise, accidental or incidental, that should have been actually communicated to Pakistan right away.
Exactly.
That wasn't done.
There is a lapse despite an agreement that has been made between the two countries to inform each other.
To inform each other. And this was, I would say, more pertinent because it actually involved a very active air route. So, and the missile was flying as like 40,000 feet plus minus some. And that is the exact height that the airliners fly.
And Mach 3.
It was Mach 3, and it was exactly flying that very bracket of height that the airliners usually fly. So it was actually a very serious thing, and Pakistan was not told. And according to the air traffic system also, Pakistan would have been told. So Pakistan's airspace was infringed. Pakistan has every legitimate right to claim a joint probe, which Pakistan has done. So I think Pakistan has so far played, I would say, with great responsibility and very cautiously. It has not reacted right away. And I think so far Pakistan is taking it in a very methodical manner.
All right.
Yes.
All right, let's come to the communication between our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab and Antonio Guterres. There was a telephonic conversation between the two in which our Foreign Minister informed the United Nations Secretary General about the incident that happened and Pakistan's apprehensions about it. Then there is the letter that is being circulated as an official document of the 15-member council under 2 agenda items. The first is the responsibility of the Security Council in the maintenance of international peace and security, and the second agenda is India-Pakistan question, because Shah Mahmood Qureshi Saab, as he says in the letter, that this missile not only caused damage to civilian property but also put at risk human lives on the ground of Pakistan. It could have resulted in a massive accident resulting in civilian casualties. Now, this is something that India has also admitted to. Nevertheless, a lot of questions emanate from all of this incident that happened. The missile that changes trajectory in the middle of its destination, and secondly, the fact that the Indians have been made aware by Pakistan as well that they were tracking this missile since it took off. What's your take on both of these points?
I think Pakistan's stance is absolutely correct. As I told you earlier, that it has infringed Pakistani airspace. So Pakistan has every legitimate right to ask for a joint probe, one. Secondly, it not only endangered the life of people on ground, it actually endangered the airliners, the life of the people flying in the airline. Because it exactly flew the same height.
There could have been hundreds of casualties.
There could have been serious casualties. And the system is such that they should have informed Pakistan right away through the hottest hotline, through the quickest possible means, which they did not. Well, one can say that it was just a matter of minutes, fine. But then they would have done it and maybe it would not have, Pakistan may not have been able to do anything about it to change the altitude of the aircraft or something, but still they would have informed. They did not. They reacted 2 days after, only when Pakistan actually raised concern and they felt that it is appropriate to react at that point in time. I think Pakistan's concern to the United Nations in the letter is, I think, a very responsible act, and Pakistan has every legal and legitimate right to ask for a joint probe. And I think there should be a joint probe where it should be ascertained that it is an accident. Circumstances are such that to Pakistanis it does not look like an accident. Things are such that this missile, which was fired, say accidentally fired, it did not have a warhead. Yes, it did not have. It can carry 200 kgs of warhead. It was not armed, but it gets fired. It gets to the altitude which is airliner's bracket, and then it changes course and route. 90 degrees plus change of course and route. If it is a misfire, actually, that one thing that it changes course after takeoff
raises a lot of questions.
Raises a lot of questions, and this one say maneuver by the missile is not something to be absorbed easily. I think Pakistan is very right in asking for such a joint inquiry, and I think India should, in good faith, if it has happened this way, I think should agree to it, so that Pakistan and international agencies are like they have some amount of understanding on this. Yes, it was a
all right
missile misfire.
Bajwa Sahab, in the letter that Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab addresses to Antonio Guterres, he talks about the different points that Pakistan has called on India to do. And I would like to cite them and then ask your opinion on them. He says, explain the measures and procedures in place to prevent accidental missile launches and particular circumstances of the incident, type and specifications of the missile that fell in Pakistani territory, the flight path trajectory of the accidentally launched missile and how it ultimately entered into Pakistan, and also whether the missile was equipped with self-destruct mechanism, why did it fail to actualize, and also whether Indian missiles are kept primed for launch even under routine maintenance. These are very, very important questions.
These are.
And do you feel, in your point of view, because you know the fact is that we need to admit it, that India replied 48 hours after the whole incident happened. Do you feel that India will reply to these questions, or do you feel there is going to be some other kind of maneuver by India diplomatically or politically in order to put this aside?
If it was two other nations other than Pakistan and India, where the relations would not have been such, yes, of course, they would have actually agreed right away to the joint inquiry and they would have answered all these questions. But the type of relations India-Pakistan has, and I would say the embarrassment that India faced in 2019, February attack, there are suspicions. Suspicions are actually very high. And Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab has asked it, I would say, very pertinent things. And some amount of mechanism exists. Like, for example, if in air traffic control system, if there's something left from the ground, like an unmanned aerial air balloon, which like breaks loose from the ground, it goes to the air, there is a system to be informed about the air balloon which goes off. It may be an air defense air balloon, or maybe it is a big weather air balloon which goes lose control. So if that is that, there is already, I would say, an agreement or a system which exists as
Understood.
far as the air traffic procedures are concerned. However, this missile was unarmed, yes. What if it was armed?
What if it was armed? A huge question
That is
mark.
a point of concern. So I think Pakistan's demand that we should have a joint mechanism, as both the countries have equally good, I would say, missile capability. And going loose, I mean, such a missile firing like this is actually a very rare thing. Should not have, and so far I think these type of, actually this missile has a track record also of misfires. It has two accidents in the history. Once it fell 7 kilometers or so short of the target, and another occasion in probably 21, it fired and fell right away soon after the fire.
These are two very different
These are two
compared.
very different things. It takes off, goes to the air, attains an altitude, changes course, gets into Pakistani territory, and hits an area which is actually very close to a populated area. These are not things which can be easily absorbed.
Exactly.
And I think
put aside as well.
They can't be put aside. So I think Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab is very right in asking for such things.
Let's talk about Rajnath Singh, the Indian Defence Minister, and he was talking to the Indian Parliament today, in which he was asked as to what happened, and he said, I quote, that India is conducting a review of its procedures for operations, maintenance and inspection of weapons system after quote-unquote accidentally launching a missile into Pakistan. We attach the highest priority to the safety and security of our weapons system. If any shortcoming is found, it would be immediately rectified. Do you feel that the Indian Congress or the other opposition parties will raise questions as to how this incident happened, or will they all also remain mum?
The type of environment that India-Pakistan has, I don't think they will go with what the government says. The opposition will not say a lot on that. Because see, it's like a very popular buzzword that would go in India that, well, is probably an act of hostility or something. So I think there's nothing big we should expect that the opposition from India should say on this or demand.
You know, there's another thing that I'd like to quote from Rajnath Singh, and he said, our safety procedures and protocols are of the highest order and are reviewed from time to time. If what he says is true, then how did this incident happen?
Well, that is very obvious what type of safety procedures they have. This is an amply, we would say, clear example as to what type of procedures they have. And when he has said this, that he would like to revise the procedures, why not to make it joint procedures? I mean, why not to involve Pakistan? This is what we say.
Exactly.
I mean, there is a possibility that there's a missile fired from our side too. So we should have a joint procedure.
Agreed.
Where we should be able to inform to actually for the safety of the people, one, and also to calm down the hostilities if there are any. And I think Pakistan's air defense system worked perfectly fine. Pakistan's air defense system was able to track it right from takeoff till it hit the ground.
All right.
And if the, I would say, the situation was not like peacetime situation like this, the things would happen maybe more different. I don't want to disclose as to what could be.
I understand.
But I think we were lucky that the situation, the overall environment, current environment was such that Pakistan acted with such a with a restraint. And
but you know, even in the Pulwama incident, Pakistan really acted with restraint.
With a lot of responsibility, and it deliberately did not hit the targets which was supposed to be hit. They were locked, and Pakistanis, they put their bombs away from the target just to ensure the point that the hostilities, they don't, I mean, we are very sensitive neighbors, and such an act would have maybe provoked a war. Or something like that.
Let's talk about rogue elements. Let's talk about India being a rogue state. This is something that Moeed Yusuf Sahab has talked about India, and this is not a secret. You know, everybody knows what India's hegemonic designs are. Also, one of the questions that Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab asks through the letter that is addressed to Antonio Guterres, she says, given the profound level of incompetence, India needs to explain if the missile was indeed handled by its armed forces or some rogue elements. Now, the word rogue comes in both what Moeed Yusuf Sahab said and what also Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab says in this letter, although the tone is quite different in the two. This is something that is quite evident by the way India is moving around as far as its internal politics is concerned, as also its external politics are concerned, especially concerning Pakistan. When you look at international reactions to what this incident has brought about, what do you feel the international community, the West, is thinking as far as India-Pakistan relations post this incident is concerned?
As far as this incident is concerned, our suspicions are actually, I would say, based on some good reasons. India may do such a thing, which it had been doing earlier in the history also, to appease its people. See, it sells very hot in India. With a reasonably good majority of people, anything against Pakistan goes into their political favor. So this is one suspicion. As far as his firing from the legitimate, say, the military people or the rogue elements, Pakistan is not certain. So we need to be assured that it is not fired by the rogue elements. So I think with any standpoint, Pakistan is absolutely, I would say, right in asking whatever questions it has raised. I think for the overall peace of the region, they should actually reply to these questions. As far as India's local hegemonic design or their euphoria of, I would say, the local
Hindu supremacy is concerned.
Hindu supremacy or the regional hegemony is concerned, and what type of relations they enjoy in the region, we can very well assess from the relations of India with its neighbors. Which is that neighbor which is satisfied, absolutely, totally satisfied with India? None. As a matter of fact, none. The neighbors may be silent or quiet on.
All right.